Hello, everybody. It is Monday night, and you know what that means. That means it is time for the Monday Night League. No, that is not correct. That means it's time for the Sunday Night League. We are here, as you can see, at Le Mans, France, la Circuit de la Sarre. We are here at the legendary circuit. And in very fitting cars, we are of course here for the endurance season. We have a host of Group 1 cars, all of them the Toyota GR010 hypercar, and of course a host of different GT3 cars, Group 3 cars in the game. We have here Edgar on pole position, as he has been quite frequently for this endurance season so far. Number 77 on top once again in qualifying. Edgar has been utterly dominant so far, and that is the front of our grid. It is Edgar for Toyota Gazoo Racing with that Toyota livery on the car. That is pole position for the legendary Le Mans. We are calling this the 24 hours of Le Mans. We have called every race the something amount of hours of wherever we're racing, the 6 hours of the Glen, for example, but you will be aware that all of these races have, of course, only been 1 hour long. The amount of hours we call it, 6 hours of the Glen, 8 hours of Kyoto, 10 hours of Alsace, 24 hours of Le Mans, are, of course, relevant to the time scale we have on, not simply the amount of time we are actually racing for. Each of these races this season, as per usual, is 1 hour long, but this has a 24-hour time scale. We will race through the night, we will race into the night, we will race back out of the night, and it will be quite a sight to be seen. Edgar on pole for the 24 hours of Le Mans. Second on the grid, pole sitter last time out, it is Gasman, who was unable to take victory despite his pole position last time out. He was second in the race, only behind Edgar himself, the man on pole today. Gasman, of course, driving for Velocity Racing in that Acura livery, number 89, second on the grid. Could he be the man to beat Edgar this time? Edgar won the first race, got second in the second race, won the third race. Could he get second in the fourth race as well? Could we be seeing a pattern emerge, or will he be victorious? Once again, Gasman seems the main competitor to stop him from getting a third victory in 4 races, but the next man up to try and stop him from doing that, the next man up is the Audi liveried stiff shifters driver. It is Regimus Prime, number 84, qualifies third on the grid, and you can see those 3 lights on the side of the car representing his third place qualifying position. You see 2 lights on the side of Gasman's car, 1 on Edgar's. Only the top 3 get lights. 4th onwards don't get any lights. But as it stands, for the start of this race, Regimus has put himself with 3 lights on the side of his car. 4th on the grid is Tamo, one of 2 winners so far this season. Tamo won in round 2 at Watkins Glen, and what a result it was for him. He was running out of fuel, but he made it just to the line, and he won that race. It was not a good round in Alsace. It was messy. He apologized for the mistakes he made because it was chaotic, and he was in the heart of the chaos. But this Nissan liveried Enduro Max driver will be going from 4th on the grid today with those Bridgestone tires on his car. Number 53 is going to look to move up the grid. Can he put himself in a podium position? 5th on the grid, it's number 12, Ajax, the Blues Brothers driver in a Lamborghini livery. He sits third in the championship as it stands, 2 third places to his name so far this season. Could it be a third place today in round 4? It's possible. We'll have to wait and see. The Italian liveried Lamborghini driver Michelin tires on his car goes from 5th, and a Michelin man on the back of his car. 6th on the grid, number 59, it is none other than Tiny Terror, the man who was in Le Mans only a week ago. Perhaps that will give him an advantage today. Knows the track in real life as well now. I happen to know he walked part of the track as well, so perhaps maybe he was taking notes while he walked. Hard to say. Number 59 in the Isotta Fraschini livery for Eiffel 65 will go from 6th on the grid. Oh, I didn't realize the Isotta team was run by Duquesne, or in partnership with Duquesne. Either way, it's quite a nice livery, I have to say. Tiny Terror going from 6th on the grid, was in Le Mans a week ago. What can he do in Le Mans today? Next on the grid, it's the Rebellion liveried, not Lynchimus Prime, but it is the Rebellion liveried, the Darkest Horses driver. It is Speckmere making his return to SNL. That is right, Speckmere is back. It was quite last minute. He'll grab a proper number board for next week, get himself back into the correct numbered car, but my, oh my, are we ever glad to have Speckmere back in this race, the Rebellion liveried driver. I can't wait to see how he does, because Speckmere is a proper fast driver. He's got a win in SNL. Back in Season 4 of GTE, he took victory in Daytona. He won again in Season 5 of Formula X at Kyoto Driving Park. These are things being listed off the top of my head, so I apologize if I'm missing another win, but I believe those are his only 2 triumphs in SNL thus far. But knowing that, I will not be shocked to see Speckmere doing well today, and especially in the coming races when he has had more time to practice. Speckmere, usually number 79 if I'm not mistaken, number 13 for today. Speckmere goes from 7th on the grid in that Rebellion liveried car. 8th, last but not least, is Rob on Drums here in Le Mans. Rob on Drums, that Porsche liveried Shell Racing driver, yet to step on the podium this season. He is going from last on the Group 1 grid, but he will be looking to change that today. Nonetheless, number 42. I believe he took his first podium in quite a while in SNL last season in endurance. We'll see what he can do today in endurance. The Group 1 driver, Rob on Drums, goes from 8th on the grid. Pole position in the Group 3 category goes to the Shell Racing Lamborghini of Wendigo, that white number board ever prominent on his car. The Lithuanian, always at the front, failed to win in Watkins Glen due to a disconnect, looked very, very much on track to take victory, if not for that disconnect, but with that disconnect, unable to take victory in Watkins Glen during the 6 hours of the Glen. But at the 24 hours of Le Mans, he looks to make it a 3rd victory of the season. He won in Kyoto in round 1. He won in Alsace in round 2, and he will go from pole, continuing what I believe is a perfect qualifying record thus far in this season. Wendigo looks to make it 3 victories in 4 races here at Le Mans. Next on the grid, it is the reigning Group 3 champion. It is Ben with the number 1 on his car. That Supra livery is looking sharp, and it's at the sharp end of the grid today. It is P2 in qualifying for Ben, who has had a tricky season so far. It was not a great round for the Velocity Racing driver in round one. He took home third in Watkins Glen and fourth in Alsace. He sits fifth in the standings. It has not been the season the reigning champion was looking for, but he is part of a three-way tie for third in the Group 3 championship. Ben is looking strong. Aloe next up, number 57, third on the grid, the Nissan car, the Darkest Horses driver, now teammates with Speckmere. I believe the two of them good friends. And Aloe had a second place in Watkins Glen, but for him as well, just like Ben, it has not quite been the season he was looking for. It was a tricky time throughout the first and third rounds, but he did take second in Alsace, or in Watkins Glen, apologies. He is also in that three-way tie for third in the championship on the same amount of points as Ben, although we will go through the championship standings properly in a minute. Fourth on the grid, number 32, it is Bondimus Prime. And he did tell me the little JM or MJ92 here is a sponsor. I had not noticed the MJ when I was asking that last week, but the 92 that I was commenting on is indeed a sponsor. Bondimus Prime, I think it's lovely that his name is plastered onto that car, as is the Transformers logo. The Autobots logo, possibly. I don't know my Transformers as well as I should, considering I have watched a couple of the movies. Bondimus Prime will be going from fourth on the grid, looking to move up onto the podium for what would be the second time this season following a third place finish in Alsace. Next on the grid, it's number 99, the returning Bunnies, who also a week ago was in Le Mans along with Tiny Terror. Bunnies, number 99, the reigning Group 1 champion, the Hello Kitty car, will start from fifth on the grid, and it will look to move up the order to see if he can get on the podium. Perhaps he will also have the advantage of knowing this track in real life now, walked the full track at Le Mans, in fact. So he may have an advantage from knowing that. We will have to wait and see. Can the Hello Kitty liveried driver go from fifth on the grid and perhaps put himself in a better position than fifth in the race? Sixth on the grid, it's the returning Pat, VRC Pat 04. There he is in that beautiful purple helmet and this beautiful multicolored livery, the Sky Ferrari. I know I say it every time on the grid, but it is genuinely such a fantastic livery. I can't get enough of it. It looks so good. Pat, unfortunately, so far has only been able to attend round one. Now he's back for round four, though, and he is looking to do very well from sixth on the grid on his return to SNL Endurance. We'll see what Pat can do. Next up on the grid, it's Climicision of Toyota Gazoo Racing. In that Toyota Supra, number 23, with the yellow windshield banner, Climicision is in a very good position in the championship. It was third place in round one, only behind Bunnies and Wendigo. It was first place in round two, ahead of everyone, and it was second place in round three, only behind Wendigo once again. He sits ahead of Wendigo in the championship. He sits in first in the championship, and he will look to extend that lead today, although seventh perhaps is not where he'd like to be going from to do so. Climicision, seventh on the grid. What can he do today? And eighth, Last but not least on the grid, 16th overall, 8th in Group 3, number 83, it is Sutkus in his Nissan GTR, driving for Enduro Max. Sutkus has had a very consistent season so far, coming 6th in every race so far, I believe. Indeed, 6th in every race so far. It was 6th in Kyoto, it was 6th in Watkins Glen, and it was 6th again in Alsace. Will it be 6th again today? A consistent season so far. What can he do from 8th on the grid today? And there you have it. There is your grid. Group 3s at the back, Group 1s at the front, and a legendary track in front of all of them. An hour of Le Mans sped up to be the 24 hours of Le Mans. What can these drivers do? It will be a test of endurance, a test of courage, a test of abilities. Le Mans brings out the best of drivers, it brings out the worst too. It brings out truly everything in drivers, and of course, as they say, it always rains at Le Mans. There is no guarantee of rain in this race, but there is certainly a chance here at La Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans, France. It's a track that almost every driver, pretty much ever, has agreed that they love it. Let's see who loves it the most an hour from now. This race is underway. Edgar leads us away from pole position on the grid in Group 1. The lights are on. The lights are out and we are racing here in Le Mans. It is a good getaway for the leading group of drivers. No worries yet, but back in the Group 3 field, it was Pat going wide in the background. We'll come back to take a look at that in a bit as we enter Turn 1 for the Group 1s. They manage it nicely. No movement just yet. Rob and Speckmere trailing a little bit further back. The Group 3s managing the first couple corners nicely as well. Oh, maybe not so much. As who was that going wide? Well, we'll take a look. We already know that Pat has his difficulties through the forward chicanes. It's unfortunate some of these drivers forced to manage the forward chicanes before they can even start this race. That will be why Speckmere and Rob have dropped a little bit back. Precision goes up the inside of Pat. Pat on the inside through the first proper corner. There's a bit of contact there, and Precision is around and into the gravel. Immediately into reverse, Precision tries to get going. Of course, only one driver involved, so no red flag called. And we will continue on our way down the Mulsanne straight for the first time. It's Edgar who leads the way. Gasman behind, Ragemus putting pressure on him in the slipstream. Is there anybody close to Edgar? Ragemus, apologies. Camo and Ajax are side by side. The Nissan and the Toyota and the Lamborghini, but it's Isotta Fraschini. It's Tiny Terror who soars through on the two of them. There's contact up ahead. It's Gasman going wide through the chicane. Ragemus Prime side by side with him now, and Tiny Terror with the beautiful double overtake now sits in the slipstream of these two. The Acura and Audi drivers side by side. It's Isotta Fraschini looming in the mirrors though, as you can see how Tiny Terror is gaining in the slipstream. Gaining. He's side by side with Gasman into the second of the Mulsanne chicanes. He makes the move around the outside. What a move from Tiny Terror. He takes the position. He's up into the podium positions now. It's Ajax who's going to be putting pressure on Gasman, and Gasman is not going to give this up. The Acura driver wants back past the Isotta Fraschini. It's two Italian cars going after the Japanese make of Acura, but it's Ajax who gets ahead of Gasman for a moment into Mulsanne. It's Tiny Terror from Ajax and Gasman side by side. Ajax on the inside of Mulsanne, still side by side. Tamo behind Speckmere and Rob. pulling along behind as well. It's side by side for Bondimus and Bunnies. Bunnies pulls in behind Bondimus. It's Wendigo leading Ben from Aloe, Bondimus, Bunnies, Pat, who is side by side with Sutkus, and Climicision still in the background, struggling to keep up after that incident at turn 1. And Pat maintains ahead of of Sutkus for now. It is Edgar from Ragemus Prime, from Tiny Terror, Ajax, Gasman, Tamo, Specmir, and Rob on drums in the Group 1 category. But it looked to me like there was going to be some more movement here between the Italian brands. It's an Italian flag hunting down an Italian car to the inside at the Porsche curves. Ajax thinks better of it, and Tiny Terror will maintain that position for now. Ragemus Prime ahead of them in second, trying to keep up with Edgar. Edgar on the mediums, as is Ragemus Prime, as is Tiny Terror, Ajax, Gasman on the hards though, so he and Tamo dropping on the hards a little bit, it looks like. Mediums for Specmir and hards for Rob on drums. So there are 3 drivers in the Group 1 category on hards, 5 on mediums. Edgar through the forward chicanes for the first time in this race, finishes lap 1. He is ahead of the field and running exactly as he often has. I did forget to go through the standings on the grid. I will do that now. It is the man leading the race, leading the championship, Edgar, on 42 points. It is 9 points back to the Nissan liveried Tamo, who is running in 6th right now, down under the Dunlop Bridge. The Dunlop Bridge, still called the Dunlop Bridge in real life, despite now being sponsored as the Goodyear Bridge. Still called the Dunlop Bridge, though, if I'm not mistaken, despite the new branding. And, of course, we still get that iconic Dunlop Bridge in GP7 for now. It is Wendigo leading the way over Ben. It is Aloe still putting pressure on them, and Bunny's right behind. Bunny's would like to make up some time here. Bondimus behind this group, falling away a little bit, but still in the slipstream, as this top 5 of the Group 3s sticks ever close together. It's Wendigo from Ben, Aloe, and Bunnies. These 3 Japanese cars so close together. Ben ahead of Aloe. They run through Tertre Rouge. Ben out a little bit wide. Aloe behind. Bunnies behind him. And then it is Bondimus, Pat, and Sutkus, as well as Climicision, trying to close in on the 2 ahead. And Ragemus Prime drops to 16th. What has happened to Ragemus Prime here? Down towards the second of the Mulsanne chicanes, and the car disappears. Oh no, we've had a disconnect already on lap 2, only 5 minutes into this race. It is Ragemus Prime and his Audi who is out of the race already, and that is absolutely brutal luck for the Brit. That is not what he will have wanted. The Audi driver running in second position, gone from the race now. Edgar leads the way. Tiny Terror sits in second position now with that Isotta Fraschini, bringing that livery higher than it ever was in real life, that's for sure. I love that Isotta Fraschini car. It was not any good. I really did love it. It sucked. It really sucked. It did not do well. But I hear rumors that they will be going to ALMS, the Asian Le Mans series, and who knows, maybe they could find some success there. The Acura livery Gasman sits in third, being hunted down by Ajax. These 2 have been rivals for a long time in SNL, of course fighting it out for the Season 9 championship in Formula X, both involved in the Season 8 championship decider as well, although Ajax the furthest back in that championship battle when it happened. Of course, that was Gasman, Matt Psycho, Bunnies, and Ajax all involved in that. Gasman victorious on that day in Season 8 of Formula X. Season 9 went the way of Ajax, but it was Gasman who was tasked with trying to defeat him to make himself a 2-time champion. Both of these drivers, however, remain 1-time champions in Formula X. Edgar, look at the gap he is pulling. He flies now through this little chicane just as Tiny Terror runs a bit wide through karting, as does Ajax. And of course, the reason this corner is called karting is because if we go on board with Rob on drums, we're pointing right now at a go-karting track. Not anymore, but as you enter that corner, you are facing directly at a go-karting track. One that I have had the great fortune of being able to race on. Fun little track. They really do try to rush you through there because there are so many people at 24 Hours of Le Mans, but it is a lovely little track to race on. Ben sits in the lead of Group 1. We've seen Wendigo has dropped down to 4th. I think that was through a lot of the slipstream battling down the Mulsanne Straight as we now watch the sun setting, and Bunny sticks his nose up the inside of a Lowy. That's a bold move. We'll say bold. Now a Lowy on the inside of him, though, through the Porsche curves. Bunny's looking for any way through. He looks like he has more grip as they go through karting. Ben runs out wide, but I think still on the curb, so still within the legal limits. Ben in the lead of the Group 3 category. A Lowy. Ooh, Bunny's brakes late. I don't know if there was contact there, but the Hello Kitty livery very nearly smacking into the back of that Nissan. As Ben will continue to lead the way as we enter lap 3. As Ben from a Lowy from Bunny's. Wendigo drops a little bit back during the Ford chicanes, and we're going to have Bondimus now taking a look at the current runner-up in the standings, unable to make a move into turn 1. A Lowy on the inside of Bunny's is actually going to get such a good run. I thought for a moment he was going to go after Ben there. Bondimus sliding out of the Dunlop chicane. That was impressive. Limicision is through on Sutkus and Pat. These three looking quite close together, and it looks to me like Pat and Sutkus were having a bit of a battle earlier. Edgar leads the way still. Gasman has since gotten past Tiny Terror. Of course, the chaos going on in both categories, difficult to catch everything in the both of them. And Pat saying that his helmet is inspired by Lewis Hamilton's helmets. Of course, there was a Mercedes livery or decal on it, so I imagine it was inspired by one of his Mercedes helmets. I'm thinking possibly the 2021 helmet. So I believe that one was purple. Hard to see the helmet now, unfortunately. But we'll see Sutkus side by side with Limicision. Both of these drivers, Lithuanians, and the GTR pulls out of the slipstream of the Supra and starts losing speed. So the Supra, a beast in a straight line, it seems like, or is it the GTR struggling? Hard to say. I don't know how the Huracan, the 458, or the BRZ will compare to the GTR. But the Supra, either way, seems quite strong in a straight line, as Ben leads the way still. Rob on drums. Last but not least, those hard compound tires. He will be excited to be taking those off the car soon enough, I would imagine. I don't know exactly when he will pit. It is hard to say. We sort of have to wait for the first round of pit stops to happen before we get a bit of really a sense, as Edgar dips a couple of wheels into the pit entry as he goes around the Ford chicanes. That is a common thing to do, nothing wrong with doing that, as Edgar leads the way at the end of lap 4. He seems rather unstoppable as it stands. Gasman sets a 3:32.091, which is 7/10 faster than what Edgar set last lap. Edgar, of course, holds the fastest lap of the race as it stands with a 3:31.4. That is quite a bit faster than Gasman's fastest lap, but Gasman doing well himself. Tiny Terror, a 33.8 last time out, or not last time out, apologies, on lap 2, I should say. Running in third position, the Isotta Fraschini livery is doing very well. We don't often see Tiny Terror quite this high up the grid. He often shows good ability at the start of races, but will sometimes flip back a little bit more. His qualifying not always quite up to what his race pace is. We have seen him get a podium before in SNL. It was a little while ago now, as Ajax runs a little bit wide. Tiny Terror we did see get a podium in Season 4 of Formula X. back on the GT Sport game when he was driving with Alpine at Monza. Possibly no chicane. I don't remember for sure if that was no chicane. I just know I had a bad race. I also know Tiny Terror had a great race. Wolfbane won that one. Possibly Paletti got second. It might have been an Alpine 2-3. Not sure. I know for sure though Tiny Terror got podium in that race though. And I don't believe he's podiumed in SNL since, though he currently sits not only in a podium in class, but an overall podium as well. But Ajax is no easy customer. He will do everything he can to get ahead of the Isotta Fraschini ahead of him. The two Italian brands will be doing battle quite soon at this rate, as Ajax is catching Tiny Terror at the moment in the slipstream at this point, I would imagine. Tamo behind, not doing too bad considering he's on the hards. He's the first of the hard runners, managing the tires nicely. Spekmir on mediums. Or no, he can't be the first of the hard runners. Gasman's the first of the hard runners. Wow, Gasman's doing really well, actually. Gasman is doing so well, I thought he was on mediums. There is something to be said for the skill it takes to do that. Spekmir on his mediums, running nicely through Arnage. One of the greatest viewing spots in the world, or so I'm told. I haven't properly been able to watch some racing from Arnage. I have been around, bit wide for Rob on drums, who clips the barriers on the outside of Arnage. It's the slowest point on this entire Circuit de la Sarthe track, and as such, that is why we see that's why we see the mistakes we do, but it's also why it's such a good viewing spot, as Bondimus and Bunnies are on their outlaps now. So Bondimus and Bunnies have pitted off of their first sets of tires, and now continue on their way on their second sets of tires. Bunnies up ahead of Bondimus now, the BRZ shooting flames out the side as he manages to downshift and brake just enough to make that corner. Bunny's still ahead, or apologies, behind Bondimus now as he slipped past him in the slipstream. Managing nicely. Bunnies has made a mistake. Where is Bunnies gone? Bunnies is off and into the gravel. What has happened to Bunnies here as he gets reset going through the chicane? We see here, wow, why don't we go on board with him? Bunnies brakes too late, dodges to the right, chooses not to go through those man-made chicanes, through the gravel, and gets reset, and that will hurt Bunny's race massively. If he and Bondimus are pitting the lap before everybody else up here in the Group 3 category, Ben and Wendigo presumably pitting at the end of this lap, same with Aloe. If those two are pitting a lap before, they will likely end up doing one more pit stop than the others in this race, and therefore must maximize their pace on these tires while they can. Ben on the hards leads the way. Wendigo on mediums, Aloe on softs. That is incredible, frankly, that Ben is leading the way in Group 3, having been on hards this entire time, while Wendigo behind sits on mediums, Aloe on softs. I believe Bunnies was on softs, and I missed what Bondimus was on. It might have been hards as well as Ben. But nonetheless, Ben leading the pack on hard compound tires is an immense feat. Through karting we go, and I would imagine we'll see the Group 3's pitting now. Let's take a look and see. As you see, the Ferris wheel lit up in the background. Indeed, the top two are in. Aloe will follow. Pat still navigating the Porsche curves. Oh! Clips the barrier, does Aloe, but that is a tricky pit entry. So Bondimus, that is the question. Where will Bondimus be in relation to Ben and Wendigo. We'll want to see where Bunnies is as well, of course, but that mistake down at the second of the Mulsanne chicanes will have been deeply, deeply costly as we see sparks and flames flying out of that car, licks it into karting, just a tap on the brakes, and through karting indeed. Ben not nearly done refueling. 50% goes Ben. Where is Bondimus now? Through the Ford chicanes, through the second of the Ford chicanes, in fact, comes the Ferrari livery, or the Ferrari car. Bondimus, there's Ben. Ben's done refueling. Where's Bondimus in comparison? Ben doesn't change his tires. Ben is going to double stint the hards. That's very interesting to see. At this track, changing tires takes shockingly long. And I get the sense Ben was aware of that. And Ben is taking advantage of that by double stinting these hards. We know Ben is very comfortable on the hards. He starts so many races on the hards. It's something that most others don't do, but he does. He has the confidence in it, and he pulls it off quite frequently. That's what he's doing now, and he's double stinting the hards he started on. Bondimus right behind will be a little upset to see that, I think, though, as he is stuck behind. He could have been ahead if Ben had just changed his tires, but Bondimus now knows that the Supra pulls away from him down the straights, that the Supra of the reigning champion for a reason, might I add, is now ahead of him. Bondimus did win his first ever SNL race at the end of the previous endurance season. Then he took some race wins in Formula X. But Bondimus now in endurance once again. He's looking to win again. Ben is looking to defend his title, or at very least, defend a win from his near undefeated season last time out. A bunch of the Group 1s have pitted now. Tamo and Rob have not. Edgar on his outlap through Tertre Rouge manages nicely. These Toyotas stick to the ground very, very well. Gasman will continue on his way with Ajax behind, and Tiny Terror has dropped behind the two of them a bit. It looks like, well, I mean, Gasman was already ahead. I think words don't always work very well with me. It's funny, trying to be a commentator and not being able to speak sometimes. Ajax seems to have underfueled. Gone to maybe about 80% on his fuel there. Tiny Terror up to 100%, and that will be why he has dropped behind Ajax through that pit stop sequence. Speckmere behind, running nicely on his return to SNL. A much, much welcomed and appreciated return. We are always happy to see Ajax. Speckmere racing in SNL. I mean, we're happy to see Ajax too. I was just trying to say Speckmere, and somehow didn't say the right name. Speckmere, where? Oh, right, Rob. So Rob sits in second at the moment as he goes through Mulsanne. Himself and Tamo have both saved the fuel to go an extra lap, as the two of them are now navigating Group 3 traffic. Tamo through Indianapolis, that is, of course. And next up through Arnage, as you can see a flag being waved there. Good luck figuring out what flag that was. Probably a blue flag. A bit difficult to tell at this time of night. We'll see if it's still there as Rob goes by. It's not. So we'll just keep wondering what kind of flag it was. Probably a blue flag, but Gasman under pressure from Ajax. Gasman on mediums now. Ajax on softs into Indianapolis. Navigates the banked corner nicely indeed, and I have to say, walking through that corner, it's a bit more banked than you think. This game does a good job of portraying it, but I think it's quite difficult to portray the banking that truly is there quite right. Ajax in the slipstream of Gasman. Surely he won't make a move down towards the Porsche curves. Surely not. Surely not. Surely yes. He tries down the inside, but it's Gasman with the grip on the outside. Gasman, the Scotsman, defends 4th position. That's a net P2 when Tamo finishes his pit stop. When Rob finishes his pit stop, Gasman will have usurped P2 back in this race. And he defends it. He is not giving it up to Ajax, who wants it very badly. The Canadian would love a P2 and a chance to chase after Edgar for P1. There is a Ferris wheel on this track that looks fantastic. There it is. You can see it lit up as we are on board with SpecMirror. There it is. It looks even better in real life, and if I'm being completely honest, it looks amazing in Le Mans Ultimate. But it looks quite pretty in this game too. It's Ben and Bondimus side by side. Bondimus on the outside, unable to pull off the move. He's gonna have to sit behind Ben that little bit longer. But does the 458 have the straight line speed to pull out of the slipstream at the last moment and to power past the Supra of Ben? It has enough to get him past, but Ben's Supra pulls him back through. That Supra is fantastic in a straight line. Ben is doing so well with it as well. Ben flicks it into the second of the chicanes. Nothing Bondimus can do. He's stuck behind those yellow headlights flaring into our eyes as Bondimus stuck behind Ben that little bit longer. Bondimus, buddy, you're gonna have to do it on the brakes, because Ben is using that Supra beautifully. He knows how to position it. He knows how to keep himself in front, because even if he drops behind for a moment, he's got the straight line speed to power back through. And Ben is leading this race still, but the assault from Bondimus continues. Bondi on the inside of Ben, down what is now the longest straight on Le Mans. None of the straights between the Mulsanne chicanes and Tertre Rouge or each other or Mulsanne are actually longer than this straight. Obviously Mulsanne is known to be the crazy long straight, but this straight actually longer than any of the 3 sections of it, as Ben defends the position beautifully into Indianapolis, manages it nicely. Will there be a move into Arnage though? Bondimus is making it very clear that his mediums are up to speed and that the wearing hards of Ben are not, and Ben doing quite a good job to actually disprove that fact. Oh no, Bondimus ran wide. How did I miss that? I think Bondimus has bonked the wall on the exit of Arnage. We go on board with him now, the Ferrari car, the stiff shifters driver, whose teammate disconnected earlier in the race, clips the wall on the outside of Arnage, just about keeps it out of the guardrails on the further outside of the track, and will continue on his way, but will this give an opportunity to Wendigo, who will have seen this accident. Wendigo drives in VR, has called it something the cheat code for nighttime racing. I believe that's just meant to be that the visibility is in some way better in VR. As I've seen movement up at the front, I think. Oh no! Oh dear. What has happened here? Gasman to the outside of Pat. Ooh, that is a scary place to do that, and I think Pat, perhaps shocked by that, outbrakes himself and takes Gasman into the wall. That'll help Ajax up into P2. Gasman drops to P3. Pat does wait up for the Group 1. Of course, not on the same lap as Gasman, but still, nonetheless, great sportsmanship to wait, know that he's knocked somebody off, and wait for them so that they can get back through. And I think just an unlikely and unfortunate mistake there from Pat. I think probably the shock of Gasman flying through on the kink into Indy, perhaps making him the distraction, making him miss his braking point. It's easy to miss your braking point on this track. It's such a tricky track. It really is so difficult to manage sometimes. Edgar is looking very comfortable. We're over 25 minutes into this race, and Edgar leads the way by a commanding margin. It's Ajax behind, Gasman in third now, Tiny Terror in fourth. Looks very comfortable. He's off the podium positions. Perhaps it was a bit soon to be talking about how he last podiumed in Monza in Season 4 of Formula X. Perhaps a little bit soon to be saying things like that, but nonetheless, running a very good race so far is Tiny Terror, sitting in fourth. Speckmere, on return, sits in fifth. He's lapping Pat. Well, I don't envy Pat in that situation with two Group 1s trying to get past him, but it's going to be Tamo who makes his way through not only on Pat, but on the outside of Speckmere now. Speckmere outbreaks him. The Swiss brand. I think I went through a couple different brands or nationalities that I thought Rebellion could be last week. I'm gonna guess, given the Swiss flags on the side of this car, it's a Swiss brand. If that is correct, I was well off last week. I think I suggested British and Belgian as the options for where it might have been from. So, as Tamo makes the move down the straight, he keeps it under braking. That's good to see. Will Speckmere perhaps have the slipstream power to make his way back through? It's Gasman and Ajax battling into the second of the Mulsanne chicanes. It's Ajax still ahead, but Gasman does not want to give this up. He is in the slipstream. We go back to Speckmere, who is trying to close in on Tamo. Can he do anything just yet? No, he can't. Not into the second of the Mulsanne chicanes. Ajax still under pressure from Gasman, who's going to go to the inside down towards Mulsanne. They've got a Lowy in the way. Gasman uses a Lowy to his advantage. Ajax unable to do much more outbraking than that, and Gasman slips through on the inside of Mulsanne. A nifty move there from the Scotsman, who gets ahead of the Canadian. And now we have a Lithuanian from a Scotsman, from a Canadian, from a Brit as the top four. A very multinational grid indeed. Gasman on the inside. Ajax powers round the outside into Indianapolis. What a move! In the Lamborghini livery, the Blues Brothers driver gets through on Wendigo now. He'll have to go through on Ben next. Gasman, the Scotsman for Velocity Racing, stuck behind Wendigo, now goes through on his teammate, trying to stick in the slipstream of Ajax. Gets past his teammate Ben, though, thankfully, down the straight. And I lied earlier when oh, Ajax is off! Ajax into the gravel at the Porsche curves! No! That is not... Oh, no, he spun it! Ajax has... Oh, not pause, go back. There we go. Ajax has... Oh, we'll go... Look, this is the view we'll take. Ajax has spun it in the gravel. What has happened? He perhaps outbrakes himself into the gravel, tries to put too much throttle on, spins it over the bumpy gravel, reverses his way just about back onto track, not quite, makes sure he's not in the way of the drivers oncoming. Tiny Terror usurps third from that accident for Ajax, and I think that those worn softs are starting to give out on the Canadian. Edgar into the pits. Gasman continues on his way. Gasman goes another lap at least. Look at his fuel, he might be going 2 more laps. Tiny Terror also continues on his way. Ajax side by side with Tamo now. Tamo through on Ajax. The Nissan livery takes the position, and Ajax has to fall down to 5th position. That'll be 4th in a moment with Edgar in the pits. Speckmere in the pits as well now. Rob on drums manages karting nicely from the looks of it. Where will he go? Will he dive into the pits? No, he does not. He stays and goes through the Ford chicanes one more time at least before his next pit stop. Speckmere in the pits. Edgar's done in the pits. He has refilled to about 65-ish%. And on the fresh softs will now be a dangerous component in this race for his competitors. He was already rapid, dominating this race, quite frankly, and I expect to see some more of that now. Gasman, however, is in a very good position as well. I get the sense perhaps he's doing one less pit stop than Edgar, in which case this is a strong position for him. He pitted at the end of lap 5. Edgar pitted, as Tamo and Ajax do battle through the chicane. Tamo and Ajax rubbing wheels, rubbing doors, and Tamo slips on through on the Canadian. It's Lithuanian ahead of Canadian now, but the Canadian is not done yet. It's Ajax trying to power his way back down the straight. He's going to have the outside line for the second of the chicanes. That's not optimal, but will it be enough? On the outside, Tamo outbreaks him, and Ajax is going to have to sit behind a little bit longer. Tamo's mediums doing dividends for him. Ajax unable to do anything about it. So Edgar, compared to Gasman, also pitted at the end of lap 5, so they were even in that respect. But then Edgar goes and pits at the end of lap 8. It will be at the earliest the end of lap 9 for Gasman's next pit stop. Tiny Terror sits in a lovely second position, the Isota Frashini car doing a very strong job now. I am now realizing when Ajax went off, I was halfway through saying something and cut myself off, simply going, I lied to you guys. The thing I lied about was that I was going to go through the standings, and then I got distracted. And I was about to go through the standings again, and I got distracted. So, at risk of being distracted once again, I'm going to go through the standings. Edgar leads the way on 42 points going into this race. Tamo, 9 points back on 33 points, is in second. He has, of course, gotten second and first thus far in the season, compared to Edgar's first, second, first. And it was a rough time out last time for Tamo, which is why he is a whole 9 points back. Ajax, 7 points back from Tamo, sits third in the championship. It's Ragimus in fourth, tied on points with Ajax. Two points back is Gasman, who sits on 24 points for Velocity Racing. It's 14 points for Rob on Drums in his Shell Racing Porsche livery car. Tiny Terror sits on 3 points, having missed Alsace as Ajax dips into the pits. He is very low on fuel. He does need to do that. And Gasman continues on his way, as does Tiny Terror, Tamo, and Edgar, although no surprise that Edgar is continuing on his way. Rob on Drums through karting has to navigate some Group 3 traffic. That is never easy. Lynchmas Prime, of course, on 2 points, sits 8th in the Group 1 standings, and he has not been added yet because he has not finished. He has not competed before this round, but Specmere would be on 0 points in 9th. Although as it stands, pushing himself up perhaps into a joint 8th position at least. In the Group 3 standings, actually, as a bunch of Group 3 drivers have pitted, is the top 3 there, all in the pits. Bondimus continues on his way here, Bunnies as well. In the lead of the Group 3 championship, we haven't heard much from him today after that incident at Turn 1, but it is Climicision who sits in first in class, a third, a first, and a second to his name. It's Wendigo second in class, 5 points behind, a first, a disconnect, and a first to his name. Bunny sits in third despite having missed Alsace. He is 12 points back from Wendigo, though, on 20 points, a second place and a 5th place to his name. It is a 3-way tie from 3rd, 4th, and 5th. All on 20 points are Bunnies. Aloe. I couldn't find Aloe for a moment there. Bunnies, Aloe, and Ben. all of them on 20 points, all 3 of them in that shot there, as well as the man ahead of them, Wendigo. Bondibus sits in 6th on 18 points, so only 2 points back from those 3. It is 12 points in the name of Slenderfella, who unfortunately was not able to race for us today, as the only reserve needed went to Speckmere. Sutkus sits in 8th for Enduro Max on 12 points as well, so he's tied with Slenderfella on points. And Pat, having unfortunately only been able to attend round 1 so far, sits on 1 point in 9th in class. And I believe earlier, Slenderfella in the chat saying, "Evening, gents," and evening to you as well, Slenderfella. Always good to see you in the chat as we hit the 36-minute mark. And, I mean, it's good to see you in the chat at any time, not just at the 36-minute mark. But I realize how I worded that sounds like I was saying we like to hear you specifically 36 minutes into the race. So Ajax sits last in class at the moment. A little bit of a distance behind Speckmere and Rob on drums, but these two are about to pit, I would imagine. Ajax on an outlap, on the other hand. Tammo continues on his way. Tammo's right behind Edgar. Oh, this is very interesting. This is heating up now. Gasman in the pits, as is Tiny Terror. Tiny Terror has a little bit more fuel on board with him, but I think he was far enough back at the time of entering the pits that will not be enough for him to jump ahead of Gasman. Tammo, though, I don't know exactly what he's doing on pit strategy. It seems like an interesting strategy, but he's put himself in a really good position here. He follows his fellow Lithuanian, and he is looking to see if he can jump ahead of Edgar, perhaps. Or will he have to sit behind? The Nissan liveried driver. Wow, I mean, actually, Edgar did set a 3:30.192 last time out, which is a fantastic lap time. Gives him the fastest lap of the race. It was a personal best from Tammo last lap, a 33.005. Only about 3 seconds slower than Edgar. That's a bit insane. Because Tammo is not slow. Tammo is proper fast. But so being 3 seconds ahead of him, I mean, I imagine Tammo was probably saving fuel and or tires for that, but wow. I mean, he sits at, what, 280-ish kilometers per hour. Well, we'll check at the end of the straight. As Edgar hits the 200-meter sign, I couldn't, 309. No, they were hitting very similar speeds, actually, as they hit the same point on that straight there. So perhaps Tammo not saving fuel as I had thought he might have been. Gasman's a solid distance behind these two, but if he can manage to take one less pit stop than the two of them, he could be putting himself in a very, very good position here. Tiny Terror can see Rob on drums up ahead of him. Well, actually, Rob on drums is quite far ahead of him. I thought they were a little bit closer. Ajax can see Tiny Terror. Can he see Tiny Terror ahead of them? Perhaps I should stop saying stuff like that. Maybe drivers just can't see each other. Aloe. I'm pretty sure Aloe can see Ben ahead of him. If Aloe can't see Ben ahead of him, I think he should probably go to an optometrist? Is that what an eye doctor is called? I think so. I don't know, I've always called mine just the eye doctor. I know they have a proper name. I think it's optometrist. The kind of people who give you glasses. If Aloe can't see Ben, he needs glasses. Or a new prescription. I don't know if Aloe wears glasses. I don't know if anybody on this grid wears glasses. That's a lie. I know if a couple of them wear glasses. That is a total lie. I know if several of them wear glasses. I don't know what I'm on about here. I know people who wear glasses on this grid. I know people who don't wear glasses on this grid. Most of the people on this grid, I could not tell you whether or not they have glasses. But I do know if a couple of them have glasses. I know whether or not Bunnies has glasses, for example. He does not. He has sunglasses. Sunglasses are cool. Sutkus, also very cool, as he's putting the pressure on Bunnies here. The GTR pulls out alongside the BRZ and powers through. The Subaru unable to match the straight line speed of the GTR. Oh, but he's going to go around the outside. Oh, jeez, what happened there? Bunnies takes flight. I'm going to go chase cam here, which I don't often do, but I think this might give us the best view of him flying. He goes around the outside of Sutkus, but runs himself a little bit wide, hits a bollard, and takes flight, turns a racing car into an airplane for just a moment. Bunnies Airlines taking off through the first of the Mulsanne chicanes and drops back behind Sutkus, who does a lovely job to defend the position there. Tamo and Edgar, as well as Rob, all into the pits. Gasman continues on his way. Gasman looks strong here. I really don't know how this is going to pan out between him. Excuse me. I don't know how this is going to pan out between Gasman, Tamo, and Edgar. Tamo quite a ways ahead of Edgar now because he has refueled only to about 55%. But he now sits behind Tiny Terror, the both of them on soft, although Tamo's soft's a bit fresher than Tiny Terror's. I think Tiny Terror on his first flying lap on these softs, and of course Tamo on his out lap on these softs, as we did just watch him come out of the pit lane. As we can hear the beautiful noises these cars make, and I do need a sip of water. Oh, no, I will wait for that sip of water because Tamo going round the outside of Tiny Terror into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. And Tamo through nicely indeed. Will Tiny Terror have the slipstream to make it back past? I need a sip of water, so I'm going to try and take that before he slipstreams back past. Now he can go for it. I'm done getting my water. You're free to make a move, Tiny Terror, as he does exactly that. Down the inside of the chicane. He goes for the move. There's a bit of contact on the first part of the corner. There's a bit more contact on the second part of the corner. And it's Tiny Terror who gets knocked off the track. And he's going to have to sit behind Tamo now in the slipstream. He is going to see, can he get past now into Mulsanne using the slipstream, or will it have to wait for Indy? Tiny Terror is not giving this up though. No matter what, he wants this position. He wants second place. He is fighting it out with the top guys. And perhaps I was right. Perhaps the advantage of knowing the track in person now, of having been to Le Mans for the first time ever this past week, perhaps it is helping Tiny Terror. Perhaps it is exactly what he needed, and perhaps we should be sending him to the Red Bull Ring right now so that he can have another great round next week. Gasman running nicely in the lead. Don't know if he's ever been to Le Mans. It's a lovely place. I suggest, honestly, I do suggest to anybody watching this stream, go to Le Mans for the 24 hours of Le Mans. It is amazing. Genuinely fantastic. It is worth going. It is awesome. I've been twice now. I went last week, and I went in 2023 for the Centennial event. And it was a lot, and I mean a lot, of fun both times. Gasman having a little bit less fun over that sausage curb. Thankfully for himself, though, manages to keep the car going straight and sets a personal best lap while he's at it. A 3:30.8 is not too shabby. Might have been even better if he'd done the Ford chicanes a little bit more smoothly. Tamo sits in second. And Tiny Terror has dropped off the back of him a little bit, but I think that is to be expected, especially through the course curves. as he finishes his second lap on those soft compound tires, as Tammo only finishes the first of his laps on the softs. Edgar not making up the ground he would like. He's on hards right now. So that would explain why he's struggling a little bit more. I think this is his first time using hards in this race. Of course, if it rains, there is no requirement to use all 3 tire compounds in the race, but if it stays a dry race throughout the entire race, and I know they say it always rains at Le Mans, but if I'm being completely honest, look at the skies right now. Do you think it's going to rain? GT7 can change up pretty quickly, actually. It definitely still could rain. It definitely could still rain. But it doesn't look like it's going to right now, so drivers will be looking to do their regular full dry strategies, which they are required to use at least one set of the hards, one set of the mediums, and one set of the softs every single race. They can do as many sets as of any of those as they'd like. They just have to use at least one of each. Sutkus continues to battle the reigning Group 1 champion in endurance. Bunnies, despite having been to Le Mans recently, not getting the advantages out of it that Tiny Terror is, as Bunnies drops to second last as Tammo drives past him down the straight into Indy. He's going to maintain that position, maybe. Oh, Bunnies, I think Bunnies might have just tapped Sutkus a little bit there. And he's going to have to sit behind as they go down towards Arnage now. Bunnies following in the tracks of Sutkus. He'll be looking to see if he can make a move before the Porsche curves. He pulls out alongside Sutkus. Not anymore. He pulls back into the slipstream. That Subaru BRZ, I do think, is struggling in a straight line compared to the cars around him as he actually lifts off down the straight. I think just deciding going for a move into the Porsche curves is not the wisest of ideas. He sits behind as he understeers through the first of those Porsche curves. Still behind, these two duking it out through the Porsche curves. Bunnies, though, unable to make any moves into karting. Oh, could he get... No, he does not get the exit. I thought just for a moment there he was going to. The Blues brother, unable to make it past the Enduro Max driver. But Sutkus now calls it quits on this set of tires and throws it into the pit lane. Clean decision in the pits. Refueling now. Where will he be? Gasman into the pits. That's big news for the Group 1 category. We'll keep an eye on where he comes out. It's Ben still leading the way, but with a much more comfortable gap now. Aloe and Wendigo are the ones who are quite close together and seeing what they can do now. The Shell Racing driver goes to the outside on exit of the first Mulsanne chicane. If they stay side by side all the way down this stretch of road, that will turn into the inside for the start of the second Mulsanne chicane. I know they do have actual names. They are the Mulsanne chicanes, if you ask me, though. I think one of them is like the PlayStation chicane, or the Xbox chicane, or something weird like that. Like, it's like a gaming console chicane, as Aloe goes down the inside, making use of his PlayStation car against another PlayStation car, because Gran Turismo 7 is a PlayStation exclusive game. So they're all PlayStation cars. Wendigo maintains ahead of Aloe. We look at Ben, but we can see the battle in the background. Aloe goes to the side. Wendigo managed to stay ahead of Aloe through the second of the Mulsanne chicanes after overtaking him down that straight, but this time it's Aloe who is going to make the move. His softs are dying compared to these hard compound tires on Wendigo, and you have to wonder, yes, Wendigo is on the hards, but at what point do those hard compound tires become better than the softs on Aloe's car? Ben on mediums, meanwhile. To the inside, Aloe gets overtaken, but wants to get back through in the GTR. Can he pull it off? The Japanese car on the inside of the Italian one, and he makes it through nicely indeed. Does he make it through Indy? He navigates it nicely. Through Arnage next. It's going to be Wendigo behind Aloe now. Could Wendigo get the slipstream? Oh, as there's a snap of oversteer. Could Wendigo outpower him down to the Porsche curves? Wendigo will really, really want to be ahead of Aloe here. Aloe's worn softs will be hurting him more in the Porsche curves than anywhere else on this track. You can see Ben off in the distance, managing nicely. It's Wendigo to the inside. He really, really wants to be ahead here. Can he be ahead? Aloe is sticking it out on the outside. Nothing he can do, though. He drops behind for the time being, and it is going to be Wendigo ahead, and I do think his hards will do him more favors through these Porsche curves than the worn softs will do for Aloe, as Aloe has a sliver left on his front left and will definitely be into the pits on this lap. Wendigo will also be into the pits on this lap. There's no way he's going another lap on that fuel. Ben into the pits. Wendigo into the pits. Aloe into the pits. Bondimus. Will he be into the pits? Bunnies will be. I'm not convinced about Bondimus, though. I think he's got about 25% left in his fuel. Not sure how much fuel he uses per lap, but if he's cautious, he might be able to push himself another lap. It would be tricky, though, I think. Oh, that's very interesting. So, Pat's telling me in the chat that he believes one of the Mulsanne chicanes is or was at some point called the Daytona chicane because of an agreement with the Rolex 24, which I'm assuming is the 24 hours of Daytona. So that's very interesting. And at Daytona, I know we often call it the bus stop chicane, but is the chicane at Daytona not called the Le Mans chicane? So it would make a lot of sense, therefore, if there is a Daytona chicane here. I do wonder which one that would be, though. Which one would it be? Edgar leads the way in Group 1. Is Gasman behind? How far behind is he, though? He's about 7 seconds back. Ajax in the pits. Rob on Drums in the pits. Time Terror will not be into the pits on this occasion. We are getting quite close to the end of this race, actually. This race has flown by. 52.5 minutes in. We have 7.5 minutes remaining in this race. I think some of these drivers have taken their final pit stops then. In fact, Ben, Aloe, and Wendigo, none of them have refilled to full. I would imagine they are all on their last stint now, as Wendigo on the inside of Aloe. Can he get the position under braking? Yes, he does for a moment, but he's very cautious to leave space, which is, always great to see, obviously. But it gives the opening to Aloe, who is unable to take it, and Wendigo will take the position. Climicision. It's been a quiet race from Climicision. We're going to stick with Climicision, at least through the chicane, because we're really not giving him much screen time today. As 14 people, that doesn't seem right. We've lost somebody else. We have. We've lost Tamo. Tamo is disconnected from the race. Oh no, Tamo is out of this race now, and his strategy looked very interesting. I was not sure where he was going to pan him out, and now I will never know, because Tamo has had a disconnect, and we are down to 6 Group 1s in this race with that unfortunate disconnect. Now what that does do is that means Edgar feels a little bit more comfortable in P1, Gasman feels a little bit more comfortable in P2, and I think that will put Tiny Terror, if not already in P3, definitely into P3. That being said, there is a certain Italian car hunting him down, and when Ajax wants to catch somebody, he is a champion for a reason. Ajax's strength, I've talked to Ajax about this before, his strength really comes in his consistent laps. If he's out in the lead of the race, he can put in some consistent, rapid laps. He is not in that position, though. Right now he's in a position where he has someone he wants and needs to hunt down because he has 5 minutes and 10 seconds to get ahead of Tiny Terror if he wants a podium at Le Mans. There's Tiny Terror. There's the man that went to Le Mans behind him, Bunny's, in his Hello Kitty car. And there is Bunny's teammate, Ajax, right behind. An extremely colorful trio of cars to have together on this grid. I think the most colorful team is likely the Blues Brothers, aided by the fact that there's a color in their name. The Blues Brothers, a reference, of course, to a movie that Ajax and Bunnies are big fans of, have watched it many, many times with their family. The Blues Brothers. Story of two brothers who played blues music. Jake and Elwood Blues. That's the other thing. Their last name is also Blues. There's Edgar. Goes past the race leader in Group 3. That's our two race leaders right together. But there's Gasman hunting Ben down. It's not really the person I meant to say he's hunting down. He is doing that, but he's not. I imagine Gasman's not too worried about that. It is his teammate who is in a lower class and several laps down. Goes to the inside, Ben runs a little bit wide, but Gasman dives down the inside, reads his teammate perfectly, and then heads along the way after Edgar. Fun fact. Oh, there's nobody coming up to it for a moment. You know what? I said it already. We haven't given Climicision enough screen time so far. We'll stick on board with him for a moment so I can tell you my fun fact. There's a fun fact. I didn't realize this until I was there in Le Mans last week, but there's an enormous hill to the left here on the run down to Tertre Rouge. Be very cautious when you're walking up and down that hill. Try not to fall. It's advice I wish I'd been given. It's a shockingly steep hill. For a hill that I didn't even know exists, it is a shockingly steep hill. It's actually quite incredible. Great viewing spot though. You've got these trees and you can see the cars just flying along the track. As you whip your head around, you just see tree after tree and you can see the car in between them. It's really quite cool actually. Provided you're careful, it is a place worth trying to take a look at the track from. It's quite cool. So Pat telling us that he believes that this is the Daytona chicane, this first chicane on the Mulsanne Straight, and that the second chicane, which we have Tiny Terror navigating now, is maybe the Michelin chicane. So thank you, Pat. Ever reliable with your fun facts and stats. Thank you very much for that, Pat, indeed. And, oh, wow, look at these two. We are very close here for the lead of the race. It's down the inside at Arnage. Goes Gasman, and Gasman takes the lead of the race. The hards are not working for Edgar at all. And Gasman, on his mediums, flicks through on the inside of Arnage, the slowest point on the track, takes the lead of the race, and Edgar is going to watch that lead slip away from him with less than 2 minutes remaining in this race. These two will make it to the next lap. That is for sure. Tiny Terror, I am not convinced will make it to the next lap. He might do. He might do. He's got just over a minute to do it. Gasman and Edgar, they're definitely going to make it to the next lap as they come towards the Ford chicanes now. And Gasman, I think, might be a little bit disappointed by that. Edgar will not be. Edgar knows that he needs another lap to get Gasman, because Gasman has just crossed the line ahead of him with 1 lap to go in this race for the Group 1 drivers out front. It's Gasman from Edgar. Tiny Terror, I am not convinced he's going to make it. I think that's the top 3 from the Group 3 category up ahead. It is indeed. They're a little bit more spread out now. Ben is going to navigate his way through the Ford chicanes for the penultimate time. As he goes on to his final lap, he will make the next lap. Will Wendigo, we're getting low on time now. Wendigo, with just under 15 seconds left, makes it to the next lap. Will Aloe make the next lap? That's the big question. I don't think Tiny Terror is going to make it, but I don't think Tiny Terror will be too bothered by that. Indeed, Aloe does make it, but as we come to the line, Tiny Terror takes third place. It's a podium once again for Tiny Terror, his second in SNL. It's been a long time coming, but the Brit takes it in Le Mans. It is Ajax who will come home just off the podium. Speckmere on return takes 5th. Rob on drums 6th. We get 4th place for Climicision. 5th for Bondimus. 6th will go to Pat, who has put in a very nice performance today in that Sky Ferrari. Drifts it out of the Ford chicanes. There's Pat in 6th. It'll be Bunnies in 7th. Were there any Group 1s yet to cross the line there? Rob crossed the line. I think we already saw that. So indeed, it will be Bunnies crossing the line next to take 13th overall, 7th in class, and it'll be 8th in class for Sutkus. Leading the way still in Group 1 is Gasman. Edgar in 2nd. They have 3 minutes as of the 1 hour mark to make it to the end of the lap. I don't know if the Group 3 drivers will make it, but I do think that these two will make it. So Edgar has to just pray that Gasman makes a mistake into Indy, makes a mistake into Arnage, makes a mistake into the Porsche curves, or makes a mistake in the Ford chicanes, because Gasman looks to be quite strong up ahead. He has a little bit less fuel left than Edgar, but I think he has enough. Tiny Terror, podium again. The podium is decided for Group 3, but not the order. Is it going to be Ben from Wendigo from Aloe? I say it's not decided. The gaps are pretty big. Ben could afford to back off and just make sure he stays ahead of Wendigo. He's not under much pressure. I'm not too worried about him losing that. They are running out of time. I don't think they are going to manage to cross the line in time. With 50 seconds remaining as he enters the Porsche curves, though, I do think, or 50 seconds remaining in the countdown timer after the end of the 1 hour session race, I do think Gasman and Edgar will be making the line just fine. Because so far in this season, it's been a story of Lithuanians. It was Edgar in round 1. It was Tamo in round 2. Edgar again in round 3. But it's a Scotsman on top this time. It's Gasman, who in round 4 at Le Mans is going to be victorious. What a win for Gasman. He takes home victory at La Circuit de la South. It's Edgar who's gonna come home in 2nd. Nothing he could do to beat the Flying Scot today. And I missed the end of the replay, but it was Ben in 1st place, victorious in Group 3. What a win for him. The reigning champion shows us why. It was Wendigo who came home in 2nd, and it was Aloe who took home 3rd place. And what a race, what a drive it has been from all 3 of them. We will skip back to the end of the race so we have the actual finishing order. And it was like right after Gasman crossed the line. We'll watch Ben in his winning moments. Just want to make sure that it doesn't restart this time. Yeah, there we go. And there we go. Ben victorious in Group 3, Wendigo 2nd, Aloe 3rd. But in Group 1, it's the Scotsman, it's the Acura, it's Gasman. Victorious at Le Mans, followed by Edgar. Tiny Terror back on the podium. Ajax tried to hunt him down, nothing he could do about it. Speckmere on return takes 5th, Rob on drums takes 6th. Ben, victorious once more in Group 3. I think he will be elated with that, and Wendigo unable to beat him. It's a second place for Wendigo. The pattern is beginning to emerge. First, second, first, second. That could mean first next time out in the Red Bull Ring, but if it does, that means second in Interlagos for the final round of the season. Aloe in third, last spot on the podium. Good for him as he has damage. Yeah, we can see him coming out of the wall there. That's interesting. Clemicision takes home fourth, fifth for Bondimus, sixth for Pat, seventh is Bunnies, and eighth is Sutkus. Victory for both of the Velocity Racing drivers. For Gasman and Ben. That is fantastic for them. And what I forgot to do during the race was go through the team's standings. It took a lot of effort to get through the driver's standings. The team standings before this race, not after. The team standings before this race. 79 points for Toyota Gazoo Racing, who led the way. 46 for Shell Racing. 46 for Blues Brothers. So those two tied for second. 45 points for Enduromax, 1 point behind those two. 2 points back from them is Velocity Racing, and 0 points back from them is Stiff Shifters. So that is 2 points separating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. That's immense. But Velocity Racing, with a 1-1 today, double victory, will launch themselves up at least into second. I can't see any of the other teams being able to defend that. The Darkest Horses in 7th on 22 points, and Eiffel 65 on 16 points in 8th. Of course, again, that is all before the race today. I don't know the standings for you after the race today. I nearly opened up Minecraft on my computer by accident. Don't know how I managed that. But there you have it. That is indeed the end of the race. 2 rounds to go in this season. The 12 hours of Styria Red Bull Ring, 12-hour times 12 time scale, starting at night, racing into the morning. That will be very interesting. That'll be next time out. And then it's the 8 hours of Sao Paulo. I'm so used to calling it Sao Paulo, but I believe it is pronounced San Paulo. Interlagos, either way. I prefer to just call it Interlagos, because I think that's quite a cool name. Of course, timescale times 8, as you can tell by the 8 hours name. Starting in the afternoon, that is 2 weeks from now. And there you have it. That is your race for today. Thank you to everybody who watched here in Le Mans. One of the greatest racetracks in the world. SNL takes it over only a week after World Endurance Championship does, and obviously our event here is much, much more important and larger than the 24 hours of Le Mans in real life. I don't think there's anybody who would argue for that, or who would argue against that. Thank you to everybody who watched, and goodbye.